I'm Wayne Parham of Police Magazine, and today I'm joined by Mike Willis, National Training and Programs Director for the U.S. Deputy Sheriff's Association. Mike travels the country and teaches several courses, including felony and high-risk vehicle stop and officer survival, various topics. So today we're going to revisit the felony and high-risk vehicle stop with Mike and hear his 10 best tips. So Mike, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Wayne. Always great talking to you.
Well, let's just roll through. First, if you just want to kind of summarize, what makes felony and high risk stops so dangerous, and then we'll roll through to your 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, we often refer to these as felony stops, but I kind of throw in the high risk stops. These could be situations where you could have everything from a known, bank robber to a stolen car, but you might have a situation where you've got a suicidal subject that you're dealing with. So it's just kind of to slow things down, make things safer. You basically got somebody that is in they're a barricaded subject with a mobile option, and we really need to think about tactics when we're dealing with these.
So of your tips, what would you start with?
Probably the first thing is slow it down when we can. There's situations where there's certain calls that law enforcement get where like an active shooter where there's not a lot of chance to slow it down. But in these situations, deciding where you're going to stop the vehicle, waiting for other personnel to arrive, how you're going to approach this and just slowing it down. A lot of these come from vehicle pursuits where adrenaline's way up. And if we stay back behind that distance and cover, give ourselves the time to take a breath, it gives us a chance to kind of make better tactical options, better tactical decisions. That distance and cover gives us the advantage of good decision making. So
that's a great starting point, Mike. What are the additional tips?
Talked about picking your location. Everything to me on any kind of critical incident comes down to understanding priorities. Citizens in danger are your number one priority. Citizens that could be in danger if you don't isolate or end that threat. The responding officers, and then lastly, the suspects you're dealing with. You always got to think about, if you can dictate where you're going to stop, try to stop an area that's not congested with a lot of high, traffic area. Make sure you have personnel on scene. Try to make it as safe as you can. Once again, the situation will sometimes not allow you to do that, especially in pursuits. But when we can, to try to isolate it. And then if you are in a pursuit, kind of a side note is, if you are thinking you're putting the public in danger yourself, maybe you need to back out of that. We got to know when to go forward with these and also know when to disengage from these situations as well.
Great. And let's just move on to the next one.
Communication is always a huge thing you got to consider when you're in, whether once again a pursuit or just calling in. Say you came across an armed robbery, a suspect in a vehicle, coordinating officers to your location. Sometimes you're working areas where you might have other agencies involved, so getting everyone lined up. Staying off the air unless you've got a good reason to be on the air, let the person who's the primary take over. But definitely want to try to coordinate this through communication. Once you get the vehicle stopped, honestly making sure all the windows are down and all the vehicles lined up where we can communicate with each other across there, so everyone kind of understands their responsibilities. Kind of rolls into the next one, which is teamwork. And the idea behind, I think, what we want to do with our felony stops is work as a team, have a team concept. If I'm the primary that's calling people out, everyone else needs to basically not be yelling. We don't want commands coming from every angle. So let's the one person deal with the commands. Other than a safety issue, if you're a person watching the passenger side and you see a safety issue, you could challenge that. But once again, let the main person communicate with them. But you do want to communicate with each other what you're going to be doing, who you're going to be calling out. When you're going to approach. All these things kind of came from a teamwork perspective. If I can lessen my responsibilities, say I only have to worry about the passenger side, cover that. That's my primary area. I don't have to worry about the 100% of the picture. I can lessen my responsibilities, kind of take some of the pressure off us. That only comes from teamwork. So.
And I think that rolls into your next point when we talk about teamwork. There are ways you can build that in advance.
Yeah, teamwork is something that goes kind of rolls to the next is training. If you've got to train together, these are some things that we don't do every day, and sometimes it might be long periods of times we do them. So to go out and just to role play, set up our vehicles, talk about our tactics, how we're going to approach this, and also with that, if you work with other area agencies, which once again pursuits are always mobile, where could have numerous agencies involved. Try to cross train with other agencies so everyone's on the same page as far as tactics. One of the biggest problems that I see is that we've got such an adrenaline rush. There's sometimes this tendency to run up to vehicles, which is a barricaded subject, and put officers in danger. We've got to slow it down, stay back behind distance and cover, make good tactical decisions, and work as a unit. And that only comes from training. You've got to have a coordinated approach to make everybody safer, and also safe for the people you're dealing with. They're going to be scared. They're going to be nervous. So kind of goes back to something I mentioned earlier: is communicate. Your commands need to be very clear and concise. What we want them to do is vital, and they need to understand it. And anybody watching us needs to understand what we're asking of the people inside that vehicle as well, and all people on scene, officers on scene. So,
and all that leads us into your next point.
Flexibility is every situation is different. Have a flexible mindset with these. We always, I work with some academies and such, and it's always great to have that textbook stop where the vehicles are set up perfectly, but at the end of it, especially a pursuit, the vehicle might be sideways, it might be on its side. We've got to have a mindset that that we're not always going to have that textbook set up. We might even not have room to have two cars lined up in situations. So roll with the punches, but once again, don't rush to failure. It's one of the things where this is a situation where you can slow it down. If the occupants get out and run, maybe it's time to give a clothing description, coordinate a response to go after them and do it, but don't rush, go rushing after them. Next thing you know, you could have other people in that vehicle and your vehicle's gone, or all these different things. So not rushing to failure, slowing down is a big part of it. But that flexible mindset will allow us to have come up with a game plan so we can deal with any situation, because no two situations are the same.
Now, I know your next point actually involves getting that suspect vehicle slowed down and stopped, and heavily ties to officer safety.
Yeah, there's something that I mentioned in this, and not all situations dictate it, but a lot of agencies are utilizing tire deflation devices, and which can be a great tool, but we need to remember that at best they slow down pursuits, they don't stop them. When they started taking statistics on this, the best information I've found since 1996, we have lost 48 officers killed deploying tire deflation devices, and that's way too many. Number one rule with that is, if you cannot deploy them from a 100% position of safety, don't deploy them. It should not be a snap judgment decision trying to throw them out at the last second, because at best they slow them down. You got a vehicle with run flats, they're not even going to slow it down for quite some time. So it's got to be one of those things where we've got to tactically think about, am I in a safe position behind a concrete barricade or well off the roadway on the other side of a bridge where we can deploy these? And also, if you're deploying them, go back to communication. You need to communicate that with officers that are involved in that pursuit so they can back off a little bit, so you're not buying new tires for all your patrol vehicles as well. So that comes into play. So.
And I know also among this teamwork, flexibility, and training, I've heard you mention weapon safety, which is kind of interwoven with all of those.
It always is. We always need to remember that our fingers off that trigger unless we've made the conscious decision to touch that trigger. But the one thing that I think that's really important, we make sure not flagging our fellow officers, getting our bad muzzle discipline. But something that I really point out our courses is, once we get the suspects out and we've got control of their hands, watching their hands, not seeing any weapons on them, sometimes officers get locked into, I've got to have my weapon out, I've got to have it on the person. Can we come back down to a position of ready, keep an eye on them, back them up to this? Gives us a chance to kind of see the big picture, not get tunnel vision. because many of these situations, you might be in an area that you're not, the only threat is not the people you're dealing with in that car. You could be in a neighborhood where there's lots of unfriendly. So start kind of watching 360 degrees around you. But once again, if you don't need to have a weapon on someone, it doesn't need to be so. The fact of the matter is, sometimes these situations, it might be a case of mistaken identity. So just go back to, if I need to have weapons on someone for a reason, great. If I don't, lower it down. I can always go back on target if there's a threat assessment. So,
of course, it's more difficult to control the person's hands when you take them into custody when you still have a weapon in your hand.
Yeah, that is, controlling the hands are everything to us when it comes to safety. And when you are going up to place that person in custody, something that we're big sticklers on is that weapon. Your weapon should be holstered, not in your hand when you're going up to go hands off. They should be in a position of where you want them at, whether they're standing, kneeling, prone. And we're generally going kneeling or prone on this. Kind of our rule has always been the higher the threat, the lower they go. But if they're on the ground cooperating, get them in a position you want, holster up, go up there and go hands on. We get somebody out of that car, we want to control the hands. And I live in a state, I know you do too, where you've got legal concealed carry, legal open carry. There could potentially be people in this vehicle that you're calling out that are legally armed. And we need to address that. We know they have a weapon, but keep their hands away from it. Do not touch that under any circumstances, or we'll take action. We'll never let anybody come close to touching that weapon. Make it very clear. That's something that really controlling those hands. Even I mentioned earlier about we're generally backing them up to us. But in a situation where I've got someone with a weapon tucked in their front waistband, kind of that appendix carry, and I can see it, I'm going to keep their hands up and have them walk towards me and never leave sight of that, and then lay them out on top of that weapon, get them in cuffs, and then we will remove that weapon. Never let them touch it. So.
And then you've got a good final point that kind of wraps up and flows through all of this.
This is what will save us a lot of headaches, and that's that professionalism. We live in that world. We've got body cams, we've got car cams, but everyone has their cell phone, their security cameras, pole cams from cities and highways. If we can be a professional with our conduct, our verbal commands the entire time, slow it down, relax, be consummate professionals, it will save us a lot of headaches. It makes it very clear what we want from the people we're dealing with. If it is a case of mistaken identity from bad information, we're still professional the whole time. I've seen that firsthand I've honestly had a couple situations where I've had a stolen vehicle that we've stopped, and it turns out to be the owner of that vehicle who just never took it out of NCIC. So being a professional will save us a lot of problems in the end. And that also goes back to slowing it down, controlling our adrenaline, and not getting so hyped up where we can be that consummate professional to mitigate any bad responses. So,
perfect, Mike. This might be an opportunity for you to just kind of summarize and I'll emphasize free training that you provide to agencies.
So the USDSA, and I always point out, we are the United States Deputy Sheriff Association. However, we work with city, county, state, federal, and U.S. military law enforcement nationwide. We provide free training. One of these courses is our felony high-risk car stop training that we come out location. There is a couple hours of some PowerPoint going over some talking points and some tactics, and the rest of the day is out there letting you get some reps and some team building and doing these stops along with some scenario training. So it's something we provide nationwide. Have a great passion about it. We're losing too many officers from these situations, not only from these situations, but even responding to these situations. Just trying to get people to slow down we can, take care of ourselves, and protect our public that we serve.
So all an agency has to do is reach out to you, have a location, a date in mind.
Yeah, reach out to us at usdeputy.org. You can reach out if you have any questions. We can talk. But we come out to your location. We get hosted by agencies and academies nationwide. And if you are interested in hosting, we greatly recommend that you get other area agencies involved that you could be working with to get everyone on that same page as far as tactics. Kind of have that, after the class, have that been there, done that mentality, so you're not looking at each other at the time it happens and trying to figure out what to do. So we're just trying to be a resource where we can provide this free training for agencies nationwide.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, Mike.
Hey, Wayne, always great talking to you.
This video has been sponsored by Trigicon. Trigicon, you know the names, the ACOG, the RMR, the MRO. These are just a few of Trigicon's innovative products, always designed to be as durable and reliable as the heroes who carry them.